I'm Jacob.
I'm Yuri.
And we're going for a drive.
'18 Mazda 3 Sport GT.
2018 Mazda CX-3 GT.
And we're comparing them both because they both have 3 in the name, which means the CX-3 is just a raised up Mazda 3, right?
No, actually it's not. This is actually based on a Mazda 2, so everyone assumes they're the same. And rightfully so, because it's confusing.
So I just assumed the CX-3 was a taller Mazda 3.
Yeah, which most people do.
But that one looks better.
It does look better. The CX-3 looks way better.
In fact, I think all Mazda SUVs look better than all Mazda sedans.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there, actually.
And you know why I think it is? Because the license plate is below the grille.
I think they just look better because they look more aggressive. The front ends are slightly bigger.
Because the license plate placement.
It's not the license plate, it's more grille.
Yeah, there's more grille because the plate is below it.
I don't care where the plate is, I just like more grille.
All right, let's get to the good stuff. Horsepower.
The Mazda 3 GT has a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder that puts out 184 horsepower and 185 pound-feet of torque. However, the CX-3 has a 2 liter that puts out 146 horsepower and 146 pound-feet of torque.
Why is the horsepower in the CX-3 so low?
That's what I want to know, because they actually offer a 155 horsepower version of pretty much the same engine in the Miata and the base non-GT Mazda 3, so I don't know why they did that.
Look, man, you're not an engineer. Don't ask engineer questions. Just accept it.
I just want to know.
Somebody smarter than you made a decision to make a company more money.
Maybe.
Okay, so this isn't turbo.
None of these cars are turbo. Mazda believes in non-turbo engines right now.
Okay, and mine is a stick shift, yours is an automatic.
Yes, it is. They are both 6 speeds, but you can actually get the CX-3 in manual, but only in the base with the front wheel drive. And this one is the top trim all-wheel drive.
I really like the stick shift in this Mazda 3.
It is really good. It's notchy, you know exactly what gear you're in, except you have a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, so whenever I look at the gear display icon, it always seems like it's delayed a little too much for what gear I'm in.
I don't care about that, but I can see how that would bother you. The transmission itself is very good on both of these cars.
Yeah, the clutch is very on-offy in the Mazda 3, but I'm okay with that.
It takes some getting used to. That's why it's not my favorite.
Okay, now for some more good stuff. Visor test.
Visor test.
3, 2, 1. It's got the little panel.
Boo, it has this thing. No pass. That's a gimmick.
Partial pass.
Yeah.
It's a gimmicky pass. Box test.
Let's find out.
It fits 6. That's a 9. Mazda CX-3 with a respectable 6. And if you're complaining about the way the boxes were inserted, the boxes are all theoretically filled with sweaters, so it's okay.
Yeah, and the Mazda 3 actually did more, which is pretty impressive. But the king is still the Civic with 11 boxes.
That's God level. And now the most important, our first ever Rex test between 2 cars.
So let's see Rex decide which car he likes more. Ready? Okay. He picked the Mazda 3.
Winner! Oh God. But the white seats passed the Rex test. Interesting, the Mazda 3.
I can't believe he chose the Mazda 3. We'll have to see which one we like at the end of this. And the all-new gas gauge test.
Mine has an arrow pointing left on the left side of the gas icon.
Yes, so does mine. That gets a full pass.
Hey, can we get back to the actual review now?
Yeah, I guess so. So I mentioned that I'm in the all-wheel drive CX-3, and that's called iActive according to Mazda. And both of these cars actually have G vectoring, so basically that's Mazda's term for torque vectoring, so it pulls you through corners a lot better than a normal car that doesn't have it.
Okay, but more impressive than that, both of these cars have a traction off button, and it's on the left side. You click it once, and it instantly shuts off traction.
I wouldn't call that more impressive. I'd call that very convenient.
That is like the least fussy traction control in any car from 2018.
But it doesn't fully turn it off. But the G vectoring works really well. They both handle great. The suspension's a little bit too firm on both. I find the CX-3 a little bit less comfortable than the Mazda 3.
I don't find the suspension too firm on the Mazda 3 at all. Do you kind of like this car, or do you kind of not like these cars?
I kind of don't like both of these cars.
Yes, I kind of have a little bit of an issue with Mazda, and it all comes down to this infotainment. I hate it.
Did you know that Mazda calls this effortless infotainment on their website?
Okay, well that's insane because it's like the hardest thing to use ever.
It's really distracting. You have to take your eyes off the road to look at it so that you know what you're doing. You have this little palm pad thing, but you still have to look at the thing so that you know what radio station you're at. It's really confusing.
Yeah, and it's a touch screen, but only touch screen when you're stopped, so you need to use this dial while driving.
And there's this little like palm rest thing, which works pretty well for the one dial, but then if you want to adjust volume, you gotta lift your hand, so it's, I don't know, it's kind of weird.
These have satellite radios, but it's not active, so I can't test if it can rewind or not rewind, but I'm pretty sure from the Mazda MX-5 it does not rewind satellite radio stations.
And the navigation works okay, but it's really difficult to find out how to zoom. You have to click and then scroll and then click, and it's not intuitive.
I don't like anything about this infotainment.
No, me neither.
We give it a total not pass.
You can get used to it. I just personally wouldn't like to get used to it. I would just leave it on one radio station with one volume all the time.
I've forced myself to go to use my iPhone as like an iPod and download more music just because I didn't want to deal with like anything on here.
But you can actually customize a lot of stuff in the menus, which is pretty cool.
Speaking of customizing stuff in your menus, your heads-up display and safety settings work great. I love this heads-up display.
I actually hate this heads-up display. It's really annoying, and I have to take my eyes off the road to see it. I don't like this little plexiglass thing. I want it just on the windshield. I think you don't have an issue with it because I'm tall, so it's out of my line of sight.
Perhaps. I like how you got a blind spot monitoring nice and subtly with these white lines. I also like how it tells you when you're in your lane, it tells you what the speed of the road is. It's got cool rumble vibration features for when you leave your lane.
The Mazda actually has active lane keep assist, and the CX-3 only has passive lane keep assist.
I also like how it tells you if a car is too close in front of you with an orange marker in front.
Yeah, what it displays is cool, I just don't like the display.
Another thing about the heads-up display, I had a little lapse of attention while looking at the infotainment. It blasted up that brake signal on the heads-up display and gave me some audible beeps. Hit the brakes in time. Like, the safety features in this are great.
Back to the handling for a second. I don't care about infotainments because I don't want to talk about that anymore because it's so bad. The Mazda 3 handles a lot better because it has multi-link rear suspension, whereas this one has a torsion beam in the back.
I don't really care about handling. I kind of like infotainments.
Yeah, but do you like that one?
No, it's done. I'm done talking about it.
I know there's still something else that you like about that one, though.
What?
The climate control knobs.
The climate control knobs in the CX-3 are perfect. It's like my Honda Element with like an auto switch.
Yes, they're very simple. They're not anything fancy. You get exactly what you need in 3 different dials. It works very well. It looks a little cheap, but it works. Okay, I said I don't like talking about the infotainment, but one last thing that I hate, no Apple CarPlay, no Android Auto, like 2018.
Yeah. What is this?
Really?
Yeah, especially if you can't make an infotainment as good as the Toyota Camry infotainment, you need Apple CarPlay and Android Auto.
I think I prefer the CX-3 so far because it's a lot more comfortable on the inside. So let's switch it up and see if I still prefer this one.
Yeah, but I think I prefer the Mazda 3 for now, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna stay that way. We've switched cars. I wanna rattle off a couple things that drive me crazy about these cars. First things first, armrests make no sense in these two.
No, they don't. They're both bad in 2 different ways.
So the CX-3 doesn't have an armrest.
No, and the Mazda 3, it's way too far back.
Yeah, you're putting your armrest into whatever coffee cup you have in the center. Speaking of coffee cups in the Mazda 3, you'll see there's a small Tim Hortons cup right there next to you. See how hard it is to put that in and out.
That is really hard.
Next thing I don't like, the sport mode in the CX-3. Hangs revs way too hard, doesn't go fast, don't need it, it's useless.
Exactly.
Next thing I don't like about the Mazda CX-3, fake carbon fiber trim on the interior.
Yeah, I didn't like it that much, but I'm willing to put up with it only because of the nice leather padding beside my legs in the center console. It was fantastic. I want that in every single car. The Mazda 3 doesn't have it, it's just hard plastic down here.
Yeah, that is true. The CX-3 interior does look much nicer, but I think I was a little more comfortable in the Mazda 3.
You're a lot more cocooned in here. You feel like you're kind of part of the car in the Mazda 3, whereas the CX-3, I think, still has the better interior. Right away, I prefer the horsepower in the Mazda 3 GT, obviously, because it has a lot more.
It is relatively fun to drive. I actually enjoyed all my time in it. At first, I wasn't too much of a Mazda 3 fan, to be honest.
I wouldn't call this too fun. I would say it's like acceptable. I think the Elantra GT Sport is much more fun.
I pretty much love everything about the Elantra GT Sport more than the Mazda 3, except for one thing. The physical shifter in the Mazda 3 is better.
The shape of it.
Yeah, because you don't have that little pull-up ring for reverse, so it feels nicer.
Okay, fair enough.
Back to the interiors. What do you think of the gauge clusters in these Mazdas?
Love them. Very simple, very well laid out. The tack is dead center in the middle. It's perfect. We both have heated steering wheels, which is fantastic, and we both have heated seats, which is also great. I actually really like the steering wheel in both cars. They're the right size, and the leather on them feels really nice.
Yeah, I have gotten used to the Mazda steering wheels. When you grab it, it's not like a perfect circle you're grabbing, it's more of like an oval. I think the coolest part about the CX-3 interior is this white and burgundy leather stuff.
You can only get that on certain colors. You can't get that in every car.
I also like the vents in this Mazda CX-3. They look nice, and then we've got a secret vent that's kind of blended in with the dashboard, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, that one's really cool in the CX-3. I didn't even notice it at first. I really like the seats in both cars. However, the ones in the Mazda 3 are way better. They actually have a lot of bolstering on the sides.
Yeah, this Mazda CX-3 seems like a little more chill of a drive. Like you're not planning on taking any hard corners. You don't need bolstering.
Exactly, which is why I have a problem with its handling and its suspension being a little bit too firm. I want that one to be softer. I like this one being firm.
Yeah, I get that.
That car, no one's going to be throwing around into corners. The Mazda 3, people probably will be.
Floor mats.
What about them?
They're like their own WeatherTechs. I like them a lot. They look cool. They look cooler than WeatherTechs.
Mazda techs. The sound systems in both of these cars are not the best. Hey, Yuri.
Yes?
We're a few minutes into this video and we haven't even talked about looks that much yet.
Yeah, that's because I don't like the looks of Mazdas.
At all? Like, because they all look the same?
I don't like this grille that goes down and across and it goes into the lights. I don't think the lights stand out. I don't think they're special enough. I don't think the taillights are special enough. I don't think the hatchback looks hatchy enough. I think the older Mazda 3s look better than the current Mazda 3s.
I'm going to disagree with you. I think the current Mazda 3s look way better than the old ones.
No way. That old school one, like I didn't really like it back then, but now I like it way more.
Yeah, but these are like proper. They're very well proportioned. They look very adulty.
Oh, they look very adulty, and that's why I don't like them.
They chose the middle road, and then they kind of like made the perfect middle road car.
The only thing I do really like about the looks of these two Mazdas is they both have really cool body lines for the fenders and the rear quarter panels. Also, both of these cars have dual exhaust, and they both have little spoilers.
They're actually both really loud cars on the inside. The engines are so loud, you can really hear it.
Mazda's doing their own little thing, right? They're perfecting the gasoline engine before they're doing any electric stuff.
That's right. These are both Skyactiv G, which is the next generation of Skyactiv. And then they're going to come out with Skyactiv X, which is that crazy HCCI one, which is kind of like a diesel engine, but it uses gas.
Oh, well, that sounds fun. So looks-wise, they're pretty similar in proportions, even though one's a crossover. When we line them up right next to each other, the CX-3 is barely taller than the Mazda 3. It matches the idea of a crossover.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Okay, so let's get to the price.
Ooh, price. Okay. Which one do you think is more expensive?
I'm going to assume the Mazda 3, since the Mazda CX-3 is smaller.
It's not. It's actually the CX-3 being more expensive.
Oh.
Because it's all-wheel drive.
Ah, the all-wheel drive adds that extra cost. So these are both the top trim GTs, right?
Yes, they are. The Mazda 3 has the premium package for $2,900, which gets you different wheels, different interior stuff. You got lane keep assist, you got adaptive cruise, you got all that fun safety stuff.
The CX-3 has the technology package, which gets you adaptive cruise and lane keep assist.
Yeah, and all that safety stuff, and that's only $1,000 because you don't get different wheels.
I highly recommend getting the safety stuff in either of these cars. I really enjoy it. So which one would you go for? Would you take the Mazda 3 over any of the other competitors?
I wouldn't. It's a good car, but I don't think it's the best car. I think the Elantra GT Sport is probably the best car out of this competition.
And as for CX-3, what does CX-3 compete with?
It competes with the Honda HR-V and the Toyota CHR.
We're driving those in a couple of weeks, so we'll have an answer for you then which ones we like more. But between the CX-3 and the Mazda 3...
I'm actually going to go CX-3.
You're going to go CX-3, I would go Mazda 3.
The Mazda 3 is the better car, but I'm more comfortable in the CX-3. Like, I just want to relax in that car.
I have a lot more fun driving the Mazda 3. It's actually pretty sporty. It's fun to shift gears in that. It can fit more stuff, it's bigger.
So if you value handling and driving, you want the Mazda 3. If you value comfort and luxury and looks, you probably want the CX-3.
Overall, I'm not the biggest fan of either of these two, but I know a lot of people who have Mazdas are really into their Mazdas. So if you have one of these two Mazdas, leave a comment below, tell us why you got it, what you cross-shopped, and tell us all about that.
And subscribe and hit the bell and support us on Patreon if you want.
But especially leave that comment below if you bought one of these two cars. We'll see you next episode. I'm Yuri.
I'm Jacob.
And we're going for a drive. This is a subscription break. Don't forget to subscribe.
Subscribe right now. Subscribe. We didn't do that.